उर्दू है जिसका नाम हम ही जानते हैं दाग, हिंदुस्तान में धूम हमारी जुबान की है।
नहीं, हिंदुस्तान में नहीं, पूरे जहान में ही धूम हमारी ज़ुबान की
course.
है। इस्लाम का जो मकाम इस वक्त दुनिया में, उसमें उर्दू का बहुत बड़ा नाम है।
वो कहते हैं जी कि अगर आपने उर्दू सीखनी है तो आशिकी कर लीजिए, और
बिल्कुल,
अगर आशिकी सीखनी है तो उर्दू सीख
तो
लीजिए।
उर्दू सीख लीजिए, बिल्कुल।
जो हम लिटरेचर लिखते हैं मज़ाहमत का, क्या ये इस वक्त बेवक्त की अजान है या कोई वक्त पे आया हुआ तूफान? Is literature still relevant in the age of TikTok?
एब्सोल्युटली,
तो ट्रेडिशन है क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग की पाक इस्लाम के अंदर।
एब्सोल्युटली, एब्सोल्युटली।
अगर अंग्रेज हमें छोड़ के चले गए हैं तो हमारा करिकुलम उनका पासपोर्ट पर नहीं बैठा हुआ।
शेक्सपियर पढ़ा रहे हैं, फिर हम बुल्ले शाह नहीं पढ़ा रहे, स्पेसिफिकली बिकॉज आई थिंक
और ये वजह इसकी यही है कि हमारा एक पोस्ट कॉलोनियल ट्रॉमा है कि हमने गोरों से बेहतर गोरे बनना है।
द पाकिस्तानी ड्रीम इज़ टू लीव पाकिस्तान, कि जी हम हैं पाकिस्तान, हमें इस मुल्क से प्यार बहुत ज़्यादा है, लेकिन हम जितनी जल्दी भागना चाहें यहाँ से भागना चाहते हैं। हम एक ऐसे खित्ते में हैं जहाँ आपकी बहुत ज़्यादा किस्म के डिफरेंसेस हैं, whether that's on religious ground, whether that's on social grounds, whether that's on class grounds. Manto was able to witness all of this from a very, very close lens. So he was 7 years old when the Jallianwala Bagh massacre happens.
अदब पहला करीना है मोहब्बत के करीनों में। हमें ये तो समझना पड़ेगा कि हम एक दूसरे से किस तरह बात करें और किस तरह बात ना करें, मगर खैर शायद मैं बहुत बड़ा हो गया हूँ जी, या ज़माना बहुत आगे चला गया। मेरी एक पाकिस्तानी दोस्त है जी, काफ़ी यंग है, मेरे से अक्सर पूछा करती हैं कि अगर गालिब आज जिंदा होते तो उनकी रील्स जो है वो वायरल होती है और बैन कर दिया जाता।
नहीं जी, बिल्कुल गालिब ये उनकी रील्स वायरल होनी क्यों थी, उनकी रील्स एग्जिस्टिंगली भी वायरल होती हैं। आपको बहुत से ऐसे हार्ट ब्रेक और दुखी लोगों की, जो जेन ज़ी हैं, उनकी बहुत सी रील्स नज़र आएंगी जिसके अंदर गालिब की पीछे शायरी इस्तेमाल हो रही होगी। ऑल ग्रेट राइटिंग कम्स फ्रॉम अ प्लेस ऑफ पेन. I do feel that women are always walking the tightrope. They are always defending their rage. And she's written about India's social class. She's written about not just social class, but India's particular caste. One of the things that you notice very often is कि बच्चे जिन्होंने आपको नज़र आ जाता है उनकी लिखाई से, बोथ इंग्लिश एंड उर्दू के, अच्छा ये एक टूटे हुए दिल वाला इंसान है जो लिख रहा है, एंड ब्रो आप तो देवदास हैं जो आप इस तरीके से लिख रहे हैं।
Guys, today we have हुदा इम्तियाज़। इनके इंट्रोडक्शन में कह सकता हूँ जी कि हमारे साथ एक शायरा है, लम से आपका ताल्लुक़ है, तालीम और तदरीस आपकी पहचान है, ह्यूमैनिटीज़ और सोशल साइंसेस में आपसे ज़्यादा कोई नहीं जानता, साउथ एशियन लिटरेचर में भी आपका अपना मुकाम है। ठीक जी, गहरी नज़र है आपकी इस रीजन के लिखने वालों पे, पास्ट एंड प्रेजेंट। मेरी नज़र में आपके पास उर्दू की नज़ाकत और इंग्लिश की प्रिसिजन दोनों एग्जिस्ट करती हैं। एटलीस्ट आपकी राइटिंग में मैंने दोनों देखी हैं। शायरा भी है, स्टोरी टेलर भी हैं। ठीक जी, और फ्रैंकली जो आपके मैंने क्रेडेंशियल्स पढ़े हैं, मुझे तो लगता है मुझे आपसे अभी इश्क हो गया है। ठीक है जी, आपके बारे में आपके स्टूडेंट ने मुझे एक सेंटेंस भेजा था, मैं पढ़ के सुना देता हूँ। उसने कहा था जी कि आप लिखना ही नहीं, दुनिया को पढ़ना और सही सोचना भी सिखाती। आइए बात करते हैं। लेट्स स्टार्ट विद द पॉलिटिक्स ऑफ लैंग्वेज एंड लिटरेरी हायरार्की। और उसके बारे में जो पहला सवाल आपसे होगा वो, उर्दू दिल की ज़ुबान है या दरबार की?
Thank you so much for that really, really heartwarming introduction. अगर हम उर्दू ज़बान पे आएँ तो मुझे लगता है कि इस ज़बान हिस्टोरिकली इट हैज़ बिन अ लैंग्वेज ऑफ द कोर्ट, ये दरबार की ज़बान ही रही है। हम मुगलिया दौर में देखें तो जब ये इस ज़बान का एक सॉर्ट ऑफ डिसिप्लिन्ड फॉर्म में या एक प्रॉपर कॉन्क्रीट फॉर्म में आती है, तो we see a lot of influence from Farsi, from Arabic, from Turkish, and a lot of the indigenous kind of vernaculars of the area. And 100% उस वक्त ये एक दरबारी ज़बान है, ये कोर्ट की ज़बान है, और उसके अंदर उसकी वजह ये है कि there is इसकी एक नफासत है, एक तरीका है, एक अदायगी है जो कि उस दौर से मुंसलिक रही है। But that is not to dismiss the value of Urdu as a language of the heart. ठीक है, और आपको बहुत सारे कंसिस्टेंटली शायर मिलेंगे जिन्होंने उर्दू को दिल के मामलात को बयान करने के लिए इस्तेमाल किया है। And you have like this kind of almost unequivocal assertion even today कि the way that people use Urdu is for expressing contents of the heart, और उसके अंदर एक पूरी की पूरी breadth and depth है of emotions that can be looked at, starting from gum to ishq and all the contours in between.
जी, वो कहते हैं जी कि अगर आपने उर्दू सीखनी है तो आशिकी कर लीजिए, और
बिल्कुल।
अगर आशिकी सीखनी है तो उर्दू सीख
तो
लीजिए।
उर्दू सीख लीजिए, बिल्कुल। And it's actually something, because you mentioned you mentioned my past as an educator. One of the things that you notice very often is कि बच्चे जिन्होंने आपको नज़र आ जाता है उनकी लिखाई से, बोथ इंग्लिश एंड उर्दू के, अच्छा ये एक टूटे हुए दिल वाला इंसान है जो लिख रहा है, एंड वेरी ऑफन आई मेक दिस एग्जांपल इन क्लास कि अच्छा ब्रो आप तो देवदास हैं जो आप इस तरीके से लिख रहे हैं। बट आई थिंक दैट वही जो मैं आपको बात करी थी कि ऑल काइंड ऑफ इमोशनल स्टेट्स, द वोकैबुलरी फॉर दैट हैज़ बिन उर्दू, इट स्टिल इज़ उर्दू, हिस्टोरिकली इट्स ऑल्सो बिन उर्दू, बट इट स्टिल रिमेन्स उर्दू, एंड देयर आर सर्टेन contours of expressions, certain contours of emotion which the English language cannot capture.
उर्दू है जिसका नाम हम ही जानते हैं दाग, हिंदुस्तान में धूम हमारी जुबान की है।
नहीं, हिंदुस्तान में नहीं, पूरे जहान में ही धूम हमारी ज़ुबान की है।
Of course.
And again, actually from that shade, the one thing that comes to mind is that पूरे जहान में हम इसलिए उर्दू की kind of prominence का इसलिए सोच सकते हैं because इस्लाम की प्रोलिफरेशन में, इस्लाम की इस्टेब्लिशमेंट में, इस्लाम का जो मकाम इस वक्त दुनिया में, उसमें उर्दू का बहुत बड़ा नाम है। उसमें जो इस्लाम की प्रोलिफरेशन में, इस्लाम की इस्टेब्लिशमेंट में अरबी ज़ुबान के बाद बहुत बड़ा नाम जो है वो उर्दू का है, वो, और बहुत बड़ा मकाम जो है वो उर्दू ज़ुबान का है। तो इसलिए हम ये सिर्फ नहीं कह सकते कि एक वो ज़ुबान जो है वो सिर्फ उसका ख़ित्ता या उसका सिर्फ साउथ एशियन खित्ते से ताल्लुक़ है, उसका डेफिनेटली पूरे जहान से ताल्लुक़ है।
Of course. मगर उर्दू की नज़ाकत आजकल के दौर में इज़ दैट अ बर्डन, लाइक टाइप करते हुए उर्दू यूज़ करना या इंस्टाग्राम पे या टेक के वर्ल्ड के अंदर उर्दू यूज़ करना, कैसा कहते हैं आप इसे?
I think Urdu has really evolved in that manner. So you have people now using Roman scripts for a lot of conversation, specifically in short form content. So I think that it would be what's different is that उसकी नज़ाकत जो है वो contemporary platforms के साथ perhaps out of sync है, I would say. And what I mean by that is that the contemporary platforms that you have, and by here I mean definitely social media platforms, जिस पे काफ़ी excessively, instant messaging platforms जिन पे काफ़ी incessantly Roman Urdu use होती है, those are platforms that are curated and formed for instant gratification. They reward immediacy, they reward speed. और अगर आप उर्दू की तारीख़ देखें तो उर्दू ज़ुबान जो है वो लॉन्ग लेटर्स में इस्तेमाल होती थी, महफ़िलों में इस्तेमाल होती थी। एंड अगेन वाई दैट वाज इम्पॉर्टेंट वाज टू कीप इंटैक्ट उसकी सटलिटी, उसके नुआंसेस, उसके आदाब,
वो जो नशिस्त बर्खास्त के आदाब थे।
जी,
मगर देखिए आजकल की ज़ुबान में तो लोगों ने दूसरों को आप कहना छोड़ दिया है। तुम
बिल्कुल।
तड़ाक पे आ चुके हैं, मॉडर्न ज़माना, तुम क्या कर रहे हो, तुम किधर जा रहे हो। क्या आपको लगता है कि उर्दू की नज़ाकत अब ख़त्म होती जा रही है?
बिल्कुल, और स्पेसिफिकली दैट्स व्हाई आई सेड कि इस पर्टिकुलर फॉर्म की वजह से, इन पर्टिकुलर प्लेटफॉर्म्स की वजह से वो उसकी नज़ाकत जो है वो डेफिनेटली फ्लैटन हो रही है, अंडर वैल्यू हो रही है। कमिंग बैक टू सॉर्ट ऑफ, इफ आई वर टू लिंक दिस टू योर प्रीवियस क्वेश्चन, अगर हम उर्दू एज अ लैंग्वेज ऑफ कोर्ट भी देखें तो वेरी सिंपल फ्रेज लाइक अदब से बात कीजिए, the value of that particular expression is one that immediately kind of means कि आप, तुम, तू वगैरह की ज़ुबान इस्तेमाल नहीं करेंगे। आप इमीडिएटली शिफ्ट ही उस डिफरेंट रजिस्टर में होंगे जिसमें अदब का दायरा रखा जाएगा। और उस किस्म की ज़ुबान जो है वो अब बहुत आहिस्ता आहिस्ता ख़त्म होती जा रही है। आपको बहुत लिमिटेड सर्कल्स में, एंड अगेन अनफॉर्चुनेटली वो एक बहुत करंट जनरेशन के सर्कल्स नहीं हैं जिसमें वो इस्तेमाल होती है। वो उन्हीं जनरेशन्स और उन्हीं सर्कल्स में इस्तेमाल होती है जिनके अंदर एक हिस्ट्री ऑफ उर्दू पढ़ने की, उर्दू लिखने की, उर्दू को उस किस्म का दर्जा देने की हिस्ट्री रही है।
अदब पहला करीना है मोहब्बत के करीनों में। हमें ये तो समझना पड़ेगा कि हम एक दूसरे से किस तरह बात करें और किस तरह बात ना करें। मगर खैर, शायद मैं बहुत बड़ा हो गया हूँ जी, या ज़माना बहुत आगे चला गया। मेरी एक पाकिस्तानी दोस्त है जी, काफ़ी यंग है। मेरे से अक्सर पूछा करती हैं कि अगर गालिब आज जिंदा होते तो उनकी रील्स जो है वो वायरल होती है और बैन कर दिया जाता।
नहीं जी, बिल्कुल गालिब की हो उनकी रील्स वायरल होनी क्यों थी, उनकी रील्स एग्जिस्टिंगली भी वायरल होती हैं। आपको बहुत से ऐसे हार्ट ब्रेक और दुखी लोगों की, जो जेन ज़ी हैं, उनकी बहुत सी रील्स नज़र आएँगी जिसके अंदर गालिब की पीछे शायरी इस्तेमाल हो रही होगी।
हाउ डू यू टीच टू एन ऑडियंस, या आप लोगों को कैसे पढ़ाती हैं जब उनको पढ़ने का शौक खत्म हो?
देखिए, पढ़ने लिखने का बहुत सारा ताल्लुक जो पाकिस्तान में अब हो गया है हैज़ टू डू विद सोशल क्लास, right? So because specifically when it comes to literate people or people जिनको शुरू से अदब का शौक़ हो या पढ़ने का शौक़ हो, उसकी एसोसिएशन बहुत ज़्यादा इसलिए क्लास बाउंड हो गई है बिकॉज ऑफ एक्सेस टू रीडिंग मटेरियल, राइट? सो आपके पास उस किस्म की अबंडेंस में ना लाइब्रेरीज़ हैं, ना उस किस्म की अबंडेंस में एक्सेस टू इंफॉर्मेशन है, एक्सेस टू रीडिंग मटेरियल है, विच इज़ वाई आई फील लाइक कि जिनको पढ़ने का शौक़ भी है वो एक सर्टन ब्रांड, एक सर्टन सोशल क्लास से उनका ताल्लुक़ है, बजाय इसके कि एक मैसिव स्केल पे आपके मुल्क के अंदर लोगों को पढ़ने लिखने का शौक़ हो। और उसकी एंड उसकी वजह से लिखने का शौक़ फिर भी हो सकता है, एंड दैट हैपन्स व्हेन someone wants to discover themselves. So that may be in the form of writing that's happening in journals, writing that's happening in just किताबों के अंदर, व्हाट्सएप मैसेजेस के अंदर। लॉट ऑफ लोग अपने आप को जब एक्सप्रेस करने पे आते हैं तब वो राइटिंग को डिस्कवर करते हैं। And even if they've not had access to the written word, the already established written word out there, when they're trying to express themselves, तब उनको होता है यार मैं ढूंढूं कि दुनिया में और कौन से लोग हैं जिन्होंने लिखा हुआ है, जिन्होंने हमारी तरह लिखा हुआ है, जिन्होंने मेरी तरह लिखा हुआ है।
यानी कि to be a good writer, you need to be a reader.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's actually both, but what
Right.
I'm saying is that जो आप बात कर रहे थे कि अगर क्या आज के हमारे मुआशरे में या आज के हमारे पाकिस्तानी अवाम के अंदर पढ़ने का शौक है, वो अगर लिमिटेड भी है तो पीपल आर एक्सपोज टू इट व्हेन दे बिकम राइटर्स देमसेल्फ और व्हेन दे फील द नीड टू एक्सप्रेस देमसेल्व्स, देन दे आर लाइक मेरी तरह और कौन कौन है जिन्होंने इसी तरीके से लिखा हुआ है। Who are other people who perhaps think like me? Who are other people who perhaps feel like me? Who are other people who perhaps express themselves and given voice to what I am feeling right now, perhaps?
आपके स्टूडेंट्स अपनी बेस्ट राइटिंग कब करते हैं? जब उनका दिल टूटा वो हो या जब डेडलाइन करीब हो?
Well, I think I think it depends on the caffeine in their system, but for sure, but I think for sure the best writing of them comes out when they're जब दिल टूटा हुआ है। और डेडलाइन पे तो इंसान जब लिख रहा होता है तो that's always in a very performative manner, लेकिन in a non-performative manner अगर आप लिख रहे हो, so जैसा मैंने आपको बिगनिंग में बात की थी कि very often I've had students in my class who are attempting something like personal writing for the first time, and उसकी एक वर्ड लिमिट होती है और वो उस वर्ड लिमिट को क्रॉस करके उनको होता है बस हम लिखते जाएं लिखते जाएं लिखते जाएं। वो अंदर से किसी भी फॉर्म ऑफ किसी भी फॉर्म ऑफ ग्रीफ हो सकता है, उसका नेसेसरली हार्ट ब्रेक इन द वेरी लिटरल सेंस मतलब नहीं है। इट कुड बी आइसोलेशन, इट कुड बी लोनलीनेस, इट कुड बी ग्रीफ, एनी द एग्जिस्टेंशियलिज्म दैट फेसेस this generation, or the plight of the human generation. I think all of that, when they put words to paper or they put pen to paper, it's a much more unadulterated and a much more powerful expression that then comes
You're
about.
right, Jay. They say all great art comes from misery.
Absolutely.
कि जब दिल टूटा हो तब कोई बंदा मुजस्समा बनाता है आर्टसी फार्टसी किस्म का, वरना तो आम शाम से काम ही चलता है।
हाँ जी, बिल्कुल। And I think that there has this overall this thing that happens in a lot of writers who have written in the past कि जी all great writing comes from a place of pain, right? And I don't necessarily want to name a particular writer who said that, but like this mix that we see. I mean, I could think about right at the top of my head. I can
all the Russians.
Sylvia Plath, right? And Sylvia Plath is someone who invented the idea of confessional poetry, right? So she's not found a space anywhere else to be like, this is what my reality was, and she just kind of pours that out in all of her poetry, and she brands she's coined the term, or her poetry has coined the term confessional poetry. Again, heartbreak that's leading to that kind of work, not a deadline.
Right. आपकी जो राइटिंग वर्कशॉप्स होती हैं उनमें काफी मैंने एक लाइन सुनी है जी, आई फील अटैक्ड। इसका मतलब क्या है?
So I think writing workshops, specifically if you're coming to a place to improve your writing, it may come across to you that the person who's giving you feedback is sort of attacking you for something that you have created. Writing at the end of the day एक तख्लीक का काम है, आप किसी की तख्लीक को क्रिटिसाइज कमेंट उस पर फीडबैक दे रहे हो एंड वेरी ऑफन राइटिंग इज कम्स फ्रॉम अ प्लेस ऑफ मैसिव वल्नरेबिलिटी. तो जो आप किसी की मैसिव वल्नरेबिलिटी को मैसिव सेंसिटिव पॉइंट को जाके कहें कि आई थिंक XYZ नीड्स टू बी चेंज्ड अबाउट इट, देयर इज़ अ पॉइंट वेयर स्टूडेंट्स कैन फील अटैक्ड. लेकिन आई मीन एंड आई से दिस फ्रॉम माई ओन एक्सपीरियंस that if you have a good mentor in any kind of a writing space or in any kind of a writing workshop, they will teach you to not take that as a threat. They will empower you that you won't let go of the pen. You will hold the pen again. And interestingly enough, I say that from my experience because I've had two mentors. One, a mentor, during my early years when I started putting or grabbing the pen, and one actually very, very recently, Shahid Nadeem Saab hain, who runs the Ajoka Theatre. And I was writing a play for him. And again, a play that was coming from a really, really emotional, vulnerable part. And there were parts of it that I felt, this is me and I've done my best form of writing. And he would be like, no, darling, this is not working. You need to rethink this. You're writing for a stage or you're writing a play for the first time. So उन्होंने जो एक चीज़ मुझे काफ़ी सिखाई is the art of sort of self-editing, is the art of being the best critic of your own work. और वो आपको ये चीज़ सिखाते हैं कि अच्छा how do you edit out or how do you learn from the critique of others to then polish your own piece by a lot of edits, by a lot of revision and redrafts and kind of various versions of or various iterations of the same piece.
आपकी एक पोएम, उसी का एक पार्ट है जी, इंग्लिश में पोएम है जी, एट द डाइनिंग टेबल. उसकी कुछ लाइंस मैंने पढ़ी थी एंड दे रियली स्पोक टू मी. Here is my present to you on 32. Start with 0.5 mg alp, which will erase the tense muscles stretching your spine. क्या हमारे पास यही इलाज है फॉर स्ट्रॉन्ग वेमेन? जो लड़की ज़रा परेशान हो, जो लड़का ज़रा परेशान हो, एल्प पे डाल दो, ये लो साइकोट्रॉपिक्स फॉर द रेस्ट ऑफ योर लाइफ, एंजॉय करो, तुम्हारा दवा तुमसे ले लेंगे. क्या ये जुल्म नहीं है?
I mean, for sure, to look at it, that there is a system out there that's not going to recognize power and rage and agency in women, and instead say, here is something that I'm going to give you to curb this rage in you, or here's something I'm going to give you to, to soften you, so to speak. This is a systematic, it's a cultural, it's a structural, you can say, interchangeably all three, way of putting women back in the genie bottle. There are women who have come out of the genie's bottle. You somehow want to put them back and you feel this can possibly be a manner.
बोतल में जिन दोबारा बंद नहीं होता. अलिफ लैला नहीं सिखाया था मुझे कि एक बार जिन बोतल से बाहर आ गया तो बस कटका खुल गया.
Absolutely. And these are all means, other means. This is just one kind of means. There are all kinds of other social means, structural means, family means, जिसके अंदर किसी भी औरत को किसी ना किसी भी फॉर्म के अंदर curb करने की कोशिश की जाती है. Now, when we come to South Asian women, when I think of myself as, this new South Asian writer, I really, really do think that we need to create spaces where women are allowed to just be, allowed to just express themselves without...
इस बात का क्या मतलब है, allowed to just be? क्या हमारे माशरे में, हमारे मुल्क में women are not allowed to be?
देखिए, women are allowed to be, but they are really, really morphed or asked to be morphed or tailored or... mutated into a certain form.
The good woman.
The good women. And आपकी word good women से मुझे वो बात याद आई कि because you mentioned you want to talk about Chughtai की जो when she was put on trial, she writes in her memoir that when she goes to court, she's charged for obscenity. And when she goes to court, she's asked, why have you written something obnoxious or obscene? And she says, what have I written obscene?
Exactly.
And she says, well, they ask her, she says, what have I written obscene? And she says, well, you've written about girls who are collecting lovers. So she says, is collecting lovers a problem? And the person, in the court, they say, good girls are not supposed to collect lovers.
Exactly.
So then she turns around and says, okay, the people in my stories are then not good girls. People in my stories are bad girls who are collecting lovers. And then again the person in the court says कि अच्छा नहीं ये भी मसला नहीं है. The मसला is also कि आप एक certain घराने से आती हैं, आप एक certain educated एक particular social class के घराने से आती हैं, and the fact कि you are writing about girls who are collecting lovers is problematic. This is again for, you know, when she was put on trial, and this is, you know, she's on trial in 1942, so this is before Pakistan and all of that. So just coming to, you know, back to what I was saying, कि good girls are not supposed to have lovers even in that time.
Right.
This is pre-Pakistan. So, and you can sort of feel that resonant very much in a lot of contexts in the current setting as well.
Let's come to talking about South Asian women. When South Asian feminist writers or when South Asian writers in general, जब वो लिखते हैं, क्या उनको परेशानी होती है कि घर पे लोग क्या कहेंगे, अब्बू क्या कहेंगे, बॉयफ्रेंड क्या कहेगा, खानदान वाले क्या बोलेंगे? I mean, are those concerns for South Asian writers?
They should not be, right? They should not. Women, South Asian women writers should not have those concerns. And I think the really powerful ones have written without these shackles, have tried to remove these shackles and then write with them. However, I do feel that women are always walking the tightrope. They are always defending their rage. And while they're defending their rage, they also have to, they're again they're somehow conditioned to always make their writing something that is palatable, something that will be accepted by exactly all these people that you mentioned. Because unfortunately ये भी एक element आ जाता है कि ना सिर्फ हमने अपने रेज को डिफेंड करना है, ये भी एक एलिमेंट है कि जी हम किसी तरीके से ये भी प्रूव कर सकें कि वी लव आवर कल्चर, वी लव आवर फैमिली, वी लव आवर नेशन. ये सारी की सारी चीज़ें हम नहीं कह रहे कि हम ये चीज़ें नहीं करते. हम सिर्फ ये कह रहे हैं कि we're not here to burn everything down, but there is somehow so much in us. You can call it rage, you can call it emotion, you can call it an imbalance of what we actually feel versus what is imposed to us to be felt, or what is imposed to us that this is XYZ that you're supposed to feel, that we need to articulate it. And again, when I was talking about, you know, all kind of powerful women, they have not stuck to conventions of honor and obedience, which are otherwise always gendered notions. आप कभी obedience को एक ungendered spectrum में नहीं देखते, right? You never look at honor in an ungendered spectrum. These terminologies, these concepts have unfortunately become gendered, especially in the Pakistani context. When we think about, you know, really, really amazing female writers who have, Pakistani and South Asian writers who have been able to transgress that boundary, again, we think of Chughtai, right? Who I was just explaining her quote scene. She's very, very unabashedly talking about female desire. She's very unabashedly talking about, and I just don't want to talk about Lihaf over here, right? Lihaf is just one.
Case to Lihaf pe tha na ji.
Case Lihaf pe tha, but I'm talking about all her other poetry, all her other writings as well, right? So if you think about, for example, her short story Do Haath. Do Haath is looking at just female desire. Why is female desire something that should be suppressed? Why is it something that should not be articulated?
Of course.
I also think about like Parveen Shakir over here, who is another female writer who's, you know, thought about in the romantic convention. She is someone who is talking about, who's doing a lot of romantic poetry that a lot of her predecessors who are male had been doing. But she is the first female to actually articulate female need for intimacy. उनका एक शेर है जिसके अंदर she says, उसने जलती हुई पेशानी पे हाथ रखा. Now, this is the first kind of female writer who is addressing female touch, the need to be touched. And you don't see that. Even if you look at Faiz Saab, for example, फैज़ साहब की रकीब से अगर आप उनकी पोएम देखें, उसके अंदर भी वो अपनी शेर के अंदर कहते हैं, तसव्वुर की बात करते हैं, राइट? दैट द बिलवेड, उसके तसव्वुर की बात वेरी ऑफन की जाती है कि, एंड ही सेज, यू नो, तुमने देखी है वो पेशानी, वो रुखसार, वो होंठ, ज़िंदगी जिसके तसव्वुर में गवा दी हमने, या लुटा दी हमने. सॉरी, आई थिंक इट्स लुटा दी हमने. बट आई थिंक इफ़ यू नोटिस देयर एज वेल, देयर इज़ दिस picture of a female that he has in mind, that he wants to, he just has this thought process of these are aspirations or thoughts that I have about a woman. Whereas Parveen Shakir, in contrast, is very openly saying, उसने जलती हुई पेशानी पे जब हाथ रखा. And I think this is very bold for a woman to do. And again, coming back to sort of that, the powerful female writing is one that does not, fill in the role, or is refuses to be pigeonholed. It's a female kind of writing that subverts expectations, and openly, talks about desire, about disappointment, about gender double standards.
Let me ask a question, जी. अस्मत चुगताई, अस्मत आप अगर आज जिंदा होती, आपके पास लम्स में आते, लिहाफ लिखती, आपके ख्याल में उन पे क्या ब्लास्फेमी का लॉ लगता है, फाहिशी का लॉ लगता है या कत्ल हो जाते?
No, I'd be very, very sort of proud of the place where I work, because it is a place that allows for that kind of open conversation,
Right.
or allows for that kind of liberation of expression. So it would definitely not have happened in my classroom. I allow students in my classroom to address transgressive subject matters if they want to do so.
क्या उन्हें मुकम्मल आज़ादी है, जो मर्जी चाहे लिखते हैं, जो मर्जी चाहे बोल दें?
So there's a difference, again, you see, between writing and speaking. So while I am saying that they can write whatever they want to in my classroom,
Right.
if this particular piece of writing was then to be showcased in a panel discussion,
Right.
तो वो फिर उस पर शायद थोड़ी कोई ना कोई contention होती. It would have had to go, that piece of writing would have had to go to perhaps the head of department or the dean, and we might have had to say, this is a panel discussion we're wanting to have, or this is a reading we're wanting to have. Do you think it's fine? But I mean, again, मैं इसलिए कह रही हूँ कि मेरी writing के अंदर और मेरी classrooms के अंदर या बहुत से लम्स के classrooms के अंदर contentious subject matters are fairly welcome. इस वक्त the student who has, or in fact actually the final year thesis project that has been awarded the prize for being the best senior project or the best thesis project, is of a history student who has written about the Ahmadiyya community, and it's about थकन का भी again concept कितना interesting है. हम थकन को हमेशा labor से सोचते हैं, या physical labor, yes, sometimes emotional labor, but here the student has done research about just the kind of exhaustion and frustration might be slightly a difficult word, but like the exhaustion that comes with just trying to exist जो मैंने बात करता, to just try to exist and practice your faith in your own country. So again, मैं ये बात कर रही हूँ कि within university, within LUMS now, there is that space. Again, if I think about my own students, there are students who have written about experiences similar to Lihaf's, and they have been, they've not been accepted with a grain of salt. They've been accepted as, okay, if a student wants to write in whatever capacity about whatever kind of experience, they can absolutely do that. I know हम इस वक्त मुल्क में एक ऐसे वक्त पे बैठे हैं जब anything related to the big boots is not allowed to be said in a lot of capacities. But again, within my classes, students have written about their experience with 9th May. I have had students who've written about having parents or having fathers who belonged to that occupation.
Right.
And
establishment के साथ थे.
Establishment के साथ थे, उनका ताल्लुक उससे था. And kind of a shift in their opinion, a shift in their kind of way of looking at their parents, a way of looking at the institution, how that completely changed how that completely changed post 9th May. So I feel like it's a real privilege to be in an institution which allows students to, or creates that space for students. You can write. Go ahead and write.
Go ahead and write. मिस मेरे एक पाकिस्तानी दोस्त है, ज़रा मौलवी टाइप के, उन्होंने मुझे कहा था जी कि feminist writing in South Asia is this Western propaganda hidden behind pseudonyms. आप क्या कहेंगी?
Not at all. I think
Western propaganda नहीं है.
नहीं, बिल्कुल भी नहीं. Western propaganda नहीं है. I think Western propaganda, this is not white feminism that any South Asian writer is advocating, or any South Asian writer is advocating. What I said earlier as well is that a lot of female writers are just wanting to be. Whether you think about Kamila Shamsi, whether you think about Arundhati Roy. Arundhati Roy I mentioned because she's someone who's seen as the pioneer of feminist South Asian writing, at least in the English language. राइट. सो मैं इस वक्त बात दोनों अंग्रेजी अदब की और उर्दू अदब की बात कर रही हूँ. एंड शी इज़ रिटन अबाउट इंडियाज सोशल क्लास. शी इज़ रिटन अबाउट नॉट जस्ट सोशल क्लास बट इंडियाज पर्टिकुलर कास्ट and how that caste system is very, very problematic. Where is any influence from the West coming over here? There are certain South Asian writers who are today Pakistani writers, जो कि हम उनको कहते हैं कि जी it's very easy to dismiss them and say that these are not necessarily South Asian writers because they live abroad. So they're writing from a diasporic perspective.
Right.
But if they're writing from about home, about events that are happening at home, about experiences that are happening at home, even if it is a migrant experience, why would we wrap it under the guise of this is Western feminism? This is just women articulating their thought and saying we want this was our lived reality, and this is what happened. I feel like यही जो आपके दोस्त हैं, maybe he's male
Of course, मौलवी टाइप का बंदा मेल ही होता है.
मे बी या मेल हैं, तो हिस्टोरिकली हमें ना ये चीज़ बहुत नज़र आती है कि औरत ज़ात को, औरत की रियलिटी को डिस्टॉर्ट किया जाता है. तुम्हारे साथ ये नहीं हुआ.
Right.
उनकी मेमोरी को डिलीट किया जाता है.
Gaslighting हो रही है.
Gaslighting किया जाता है. 1938 play, right? It was a 1938 play that was written about how a man is systematically denying his wife's reality.
जी.
It is something that happened the play was written in 1938, but it was actually set in 1880s London. But there is an acute level of gaslighting that happens to women in Pakistan. And if there are certain women who are choosing to write about it in whether it's fiction, non-fiction, poetry, they are at the end of the day saying, this is reality. This is what happened to me. You are not going to delete or erase or change my memory of something, right?
Coming to memory, what's your memory of resistance literature? जो हम literature लिखते हैं मज़ाहमत का, क्या ये इस वक्त बेवक्त की अज़ान है या कोई वक्त पे आया हुआ तूफान?
नहीं जी, रेजिस्टेंस लिटरेचर इज़ ऑलवेज वक्त पे आया हुआ तूफ़ान. आपको बेशक कोई भी इस्टेब्लिशमेंट या कोई भी इदारा या कोई भी सुपीरियॉरिटी फिगर आपको कह नहीं जी देयर आर एब्सोल्युटली क्लियर स्काइज आउटसाइड. नो, इट इज़ दे आर जस्ट अगेन गैस लाइटिंग यू. Resistance literature is it's always on cue, it's always on point, it's always the need of the hour. And people who have successfully written, they start not by going outside and saying we're going to hold placards and we're going to rage about it. They literally just write about it, and that has a monumental impact. हम दोबारा वही फैज़ की बात कर सकते हैं, चुगताई साहिबा की बात कर सकते हैं, मंटो की बात कर सकते हैं, but I want to shift to actually the most contemporary conversation जिसके अंदर resistance की बात हो सकती है, is what's going on in Palestine. Right? So the man who won the 2025 Pulitzer Prize, his name is Musab Abu Taha. He won the Pulitzer Prize for commentary, right? And he had been literally writing about the Palestinian experience of survival, of struggle, of resilience, of plight. And he'd been writing in, a memoir, but also sort of reporting format in the New Yorker. And it is to be able to write in a publication like the New Yorker or a publication in the United States about that kind of raw experience speaks to the power of resistance writing. And it's because he's been empowered through his resistance writing that he could then later on go on a television show. And when someone is speaking to him about the fact that, there's an Israeli hostage that you have, what do you have thoughts about that? He could easily, cut the interviewer short and say, why is it that this Israeli hostage person is referred to as a hostage, whereas the millions of people, but like the thousands of people and people from my family who have been caught are not referred to as hostages but are referred to as prisoners. So that power that he got to say it out loud or at a television show or on a television show, that power came because first and foremost he was writing about it. So even though कोई immediate solution नहीं निकला, ये जंग हमारे पर 2 साल से हो रही है, कोई immediate solution नहीं निकला, लेकिन एक बहुत पावरफुल मोमेंटम ऑफ रेजिस्टेंस जो है वो आपको नज़र आ रहा है, वो ग्लोबली नज़र आ रहा है.
We support the Palestinian cause and we want this war to finish. A civilian is a civilian.
Absolutely.
There is no reason for this war to continue any longer than it has to, but बस ये दुआ ही कर सकते हैं इस मामले में। कुछ मेरे फ्रेंड्स हैं ट्विटर पे बैठे होते हैं और इंसिस्ट करते हैं कि उनका भी जो ट्वीट है वो रेसिस्ट लिटरेचर है। आप क्या कहेंगे?
I think maybe I'm old school in that manner where I don't necessarily class. I mean, it's a way to express themselves.
Right.
It's a way to get instant gratification and kind of get all of the be very catchy and report something that's very catchy and circulated in DMs.
Right.
But I think the power of literature is that it needs to survive the test of time.
And that leads me to a very important question, Ji. Is literature still relevant in the age of TikTok?
Absolutely. Again, it brings to again the test of time. Why are we still reading all the amazing Russian writers? Why are we still reading, not forget about Russia. Let's localize the conversation. Why have we been so far talking about Chugtai? Why have we so far been talking about Ghalib, about Faiz? It's because they did not just write, share and send it to someone in a letter. It's because, I mean, Faiz Saab ki letters are also just a work of art.
Of course. Ghalib ki khatut, ji, bilkul.
But what I mean is that I would say it's a form of creative expression. It is a contemporary new form, short form, which can be seen as a new genre that is evident in the digital space. And not just like, the video format, but there are a lot of publications out there now that are accepting flash fiction and flash poetry.
Right.
And there's prizes for it.
Of course.
But again, to what I was saying is that I think literature needs to survive, the test of time. But also it's something that needs to be refined and polished, and you need to perhaps at some point sit on what you've written, reflected on what you've written, which is why a tweet which may have, come across in a very hasty, but a very hasty,
instantaneous manner,
has not been thought about before posting, has not been, put in the drawer for a night before being posted. और अगर हम इस कॉन्वर्सेशन को इन अ वेरी एकेडमिक वे में देखें, so then people who commented or written about the art of writing or the skill of writing, people like Susan Sontag and Roland Barthes, they also kind of say that literature just isn't about putting a bunch of words together and saying, yeah, this is language and so I'm putting it out there. It has to be about intentionality. It has to be about structure. It really, really has to be about its ability to endure. You can look at it about its ability to endure multiple audiences and also the ability to endure the test of time. And TikTok, Twitter, tweets of the sort, even WhatsApp statuses, which may be very well articulated. I'm not necessarily sure to what extent they can be classified as literature in the way that an old schooler perhaps thinks about it.
I respect that. I completely respect that. जी old school से नए school की तरफ आते हैं. We have done with colonization 42 गुजर के जी post colonial world में हम आ चुके हैं. इस वक्त लम्स के अंदर when you're teaching in English, क्या आपको sideline से कभी उर्दू और पंजाबी की चीखें सुनाई देती हैं?
देखिए, लम्स में इंग्लिश पढ़ाने का एक जो हमें काइंड ऑफ इस मोमेंट के अंदर एक अवेयरनेस है, वो ये है कि इंग्लिश सिर्फ एक ज़ुबान है टू कम्युनिकेट. It is not something that is going to tell me about intellect. It is not something that's going to आपकी जहानत वो कहीं से मेजर नहीं कर रहा. बिल्कुल जिस until and unless आप एक अंग्रेज़ी अदब की क्लास में हैं, तो मैं आपका अंग्रेज़ी अदब के ऊपर अबूर देखूंगी, मैं आपका अंग्रेज़ी अदब के ऊपर एनालिटिकल स्किल देखूंगी. अदरवाइज वो सिर्फ एक मीन्स टू कम्युनिकेट है. So in a class where I'm perhaps teaching them how to argue in the English language or how to communicate in the English language, the content that I perhaps could ask them to argue about or to comment on could easily be Punjabi, could easily be Urdu. I remember this course that I took again many years ago, back during when I was a student, where it was a literature course, but it was not an English literature course. It was a literature course where we were just being asked to learn the skill of analysis and it's not necessarily English literature analysis. You're just teaching students how to analyze, how to extrapolate information and then form an argument. And interestingly enough, the course was looking at Pakistani drama serials.
Oh wow.
and commenting
Okay.
on the morality of Pakistan of women of female heroines, and comparing that to Victorian / Regency morality of heroines of that time. So, for example, we were easily looking at someone like, and this is again not just contemporary drama serials. We were looking at drama serials from since the time that they've been made. So we were looking at Waris, we were looking at Chand Grahan, we were looking at Hasina Muin ke purane drama, and comparing them with things like Jane Eyre, things like Austen's heroines. So आप at the same आप अंग्रेजी अदब को भी एनालाइज कर रहे हो, पर at the same time आप ये नहीं है कि अच्छा जी आप पॉज करके कह रहे हो जी हम उर्दू अदब को एनालाइज नहीं कर सकते, because all of these mediums are also at some level literary creations. The same is the case with Punjabi. So I think one of the essays that I really remember being memorable during my student years is that of and it was an essay on Maula Jatt, the original version, the Sultan Rahi version. Right. So ये बात नहीं है कि जी उर्दू और इंग्लिश जो है, उर्दू और पंजाबी जो है वो क्लासरूम का हिस्सा नहीं बन सकते. अगर सिर्फ मीडियम ऑफ इंस्ट्रक्शन इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज है जो कि कुछ पर्टिकुलर डिपार्टमेंट्स में है, तो फिर आप कम्युनिकेट इंग्लिश में कर सकते हैं, पर आप अगर कंटेंट जो है वो कहाँ से उठाएं, वो आप उर्दू का उठा सकते हैं, पंजाबी का उठा सकते हैं, इवन इंडिजिनस लैंग्वेजेस ऑफ द प्रोविंसेस उनका भी उठा सकते हैं.
फैंटास्टिक. अभी आपने जिक्र किया क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग का. क्या हमें क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग और क्रिटिकल एनालिसिस के लिए कैम्ब्रिज और ऑक्सफोर्ड को देखना पड़ेगा? हमारे अपने क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग टीचर्स कहाँ पे हैं?
So I think the word that I would use over here is intellectual amnesia.
Intellectual amnesia.
Intellectual amnesia. I think because critical thinking का idea necessarily Cambridge or Oxford से import नहीं किया गया. There is a long history, an embedded history that we have of critical thinking in the Islamic tradition, in the South Asian tradition, and in the broader Eastern context. Right? So I'll start with the Islamic tradition, which gives us in the 8th and 9th century, there was the development of the concept of ijtihad.
Ijtihad.
Right, which was basically
critical thinking applied to mazhab.
Absolutely, and it was actually independent reasoning where religious scholars who used they developed this indigenous form of critical thinking to say that we're going to use sources of Islamic law, which include the Quran and the Hadith, and we're going to use them and apply them to unprecedented situations कि इस वक्त कुरान और हदीस को हम किस तरह यूज़ कर सकते हैं इस सिचुएशन को रिजॉल्व करने के लिए. Right? So it's not coming from they don't have any kind of history or any kind of previous knowledge, Western knowledge, so to speak, for how this is supposed to go about. They developed this skill themselves, and there is a very active, there is a very rigorous, and there is a very kind of comprehensive engagement of texts that's happening. It's also important to remember कि completely blind तरीके से किसी चीज़ को believe नहीं किया जा रहा in this process of ijtihad, जिसको it's not तकलीद जिसको बोला जाता है, तकलीद being the specific concept of blind imitation. It's not taqleed that's happening. It's like I was saying, it's a process of coming to a conclusion with rational and ethical reasoning using the existing sources that are available to you, which is the Quran and the Hadith. So it's a connection between Islam and rationality. Absolutely. So finding rationality itself within the sources available to you and not sort of venturing and applying them in particular contexts which have not happened before. So unprecedented situations के अंदर हम ये इस चीज़ के ऊपर किस तरीके से हम इस चीज़ के ऊपर किस तरीके से बहस कर सकते हैं और हम इस चीज़ का किस तरीके से कोई ना कोई जवाब, कोई ना कोई जवाब, कोई ना कोई सोल्यूशन निकाल सकते हैं. तो ट्रेडिशन है क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग की इस्लाम के. Absolutely. कौन जी? इब्न रुश्द हैं, इब्न सीना हैं, and again from that we move to kind of collectively इस खित्ते में, साउथ एशिया में, ब्रॉडर ईस्टर्न कन्वेंशन में आपके पास कौन से लोग आते हैं जिन्होंने also in a very similar capacity कोई भी form of existing, whether it's authority, whether it's religious orthodoxy, उसको question किया. So we also apart from Ibn Rushd and Ibn Sina, we have figures like Al-Ghazali, right? Imam Ghazali. Absolutely. उनके बारे में तो कहा जाता है उन्होंने बिल्कुल खत्म कर दी science of critical thinking. Yeah, but no, he's charting a journey for actually introducing a seed of doubt. He's charting a journey for actually using epistemological inquiry, for using mysticism, for using reason to carve out spaces of questioning existing things out there, right?
Interesting.
We also have, you know, a lot. And actually, अगर हम again coming back to what I was saying earlier, अगर हम सिर्फ इज्तिहाद की बात करें तो revamping of ijtihad, or the kind of reminder of ijtihad as a real concept that's available in Islam, was brought to us by Iqbal, who realizes that East
Reconstruction of Islamic thought.
absolutely
जी.
was brought to us by Iqbal when he realizes कि मैं जिस खित्ते के अंदर हूँ यहाँ पे तो critical thinking का बिल्कुल कोई concept ही नहीं रहा.
जी, रह गए सूफी मुल्ला के गुलाम ऐसा.
बिल्कुल, and that's where you have him talking about this in the reconstruction of religious thought in Islam, right?
जी.
We spoke about Ibn Rushd, we spoke about Ibn Sina, we spoke about Al-Ghazali. अब आजकल one figure who can also be spoken of in this exact same milieu is Rumi. And a lot of people think about Rumi कि जी सिर्फ उसने 40 rules of love में Rumi का mention है. No, Rumi is beyond 40 rules of love, everyone.
Of course,
and he's not just a mystic poet, he's also someone who is looking at metaphor, he's looking at contradiction, and he's looking at, you know, a sort of narrative layering, right, to challenge binary thinking.
Interesting.
If we look at the South Asian context specifically, we also have Amir Khusro, who's fluent in multiple languages, multiple genres, and thereby he's teaching us cultural critique. He's teaching us at some level culture को किस तरीके से उस पर तनकीद की जा सकती है. So I think it would be sort of inappropriate to say that it is only Cambridge, etc., and the Western canon that has given us critical thinking. In fact, the birthplace of critical thinking is really in the birthplace of critical thinking is really in the East. It's
Islamic
just
ijtihad.
ijtihad collectively, like I was mentioning. If we want to slightly divorce it from religion, we can say it's sort of found in multiple Eastern traditions.
Right. अगर अंग्रेज हमें छोड़ के चले गए हैं तो हमारा करिकुलम उनका पासपोर्ट पर ही बैठा हुआ है.
I think it's sort of sad that we still have what is referred to as a colonial hangover, but I think colonial hangover से ज़्यादा आपने क्योंकि education की बात की तो I think we're still holding on to their pedagogical passport. हम daffodils उस खित्ते में पढ़ा रहे हैं जहाँ daffodils उगते नहीं हैं.
Right.
हम शेक्सपियर पढ़ा रहे हैं फिर हम बुल्ले शाह नहीं पढ़ा रहे. Specifically because I think this is something that's very close to my heart because I've been teaching literature in private schools for much of my time. I actually started teaching literature in private schools when I became an educationist.
Right.
And it's only recently that you will find some South Asian writers, even अगर English literature का syllabus है तो उसमें बहुत कम आपको South Asian writers. अभी recently Kiran Desai has been included and that's only because, you know, she won the prize for Inheritance of Loss. You will sometimes find Sujata Bhatt, but Agha Shahid Ali की poetry अभी तक I think syllabus में नहीं आई. बहुत एक आपकी Western canon जो है वो आपके उस syllabus में included है. And again, to what extent are we responsible for it? Because actually the syllabus हम पढ़ा ही बाहर करें. It is not a syllabus that's curated by.
वो तो पकड़ने passport उसका बाहर जा रहा है.
बाहर से आ रहा है. That is unfortunately a problem that we're undergoing. And I think that the task is not to completely obliterate it, but the task is, because the conversation हमारी उस वक्त से अदब पे हो रही है, but the task is to definitely include our own indigenous writing, our own indigenous writers, our own local writers and all of these things. If I were to say कि हम completely get rid of that syllabus कर जाएं
कि जो हम elite level पे हम अंग्रेजी बोलते हैं, शेक्सपियर की बात करेंगे, पढ़ लिख के हमारे किताबें बस हो जाएंगी. और ये वजह इसकी यही है कि हमारा एक पोस्ट कॉलोनियल ट्रॉमा है कि हमने गोरों से बेहतर गोरे बनना है. What do you say to that?
अगर हम पाकिस्तान का सिलेबस देखें, नेशनल करिकुलम देखें, उसके अंदर इटसेल्फ इतनी डिवाइड है. तो जो आप एक सर्टन क्लास और एलीट की बात कर रहे हैं, वो वही एलीट है जो कि प्राइवेट स्कूल्स और एक पर्टिकुलर करिकुलम जो कि बाहर से आया हुआ है, कैम्ब्रिज वगैरह का, कैम्ब्रिज यूनिवर्सिटीज़ वगैरह का करिकुलम जो है वो पढ़ रहा है. एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट दे आर कॉन्स्टेंटली कंडीशन्ड टू बी लाइक, you know, we want to be as anglicized as possible. We want to speak just that particular language. We want to be, and that's where our worth will be derived from, right? So unki sense of self, unki sense of identity, unki sense of self-worth somehow अंग्रेजी ज़ुबान को बोलने से derive होती है.
सारी बातें अंग्रेजी बोलेंगे तो जॉब मिलेगी.
बिल्कुल उससे derive होती है, but it's also very very tragic, and that's why we can very very clearly say कि it's absolutely, as you rightly termed it, it's almost like, you know, a post-colonial trauma that they're going through. It is also very very class divided. It is also very very somehow rooted in a particular social class, because otherwise when we think about, you know, when we think about people who are perhaps studying the other curriculum, we do not see this degree or this entrenched a sense of being Angrez, for lack of a better word, right? I also feel like one of the things that's sort of important to point out over here is the fact that इसी consciousness की वजह से आपके मुल्क में brain drain इतना ज़्यादा हो रहा है. There was a comedian I was watching the other day who said, I'd had friends in social circles who said the Pakistani dream is to leave Pakistan. Right? And I think that post-colonial trauma is taken a step further when every single person in Pakistan wants to have, you know, the Pakistani passport, but is very, very attracted to the pedagogical passport that they inherited, which is kisi na kisi Angrez ka passport. And so suddenly they want to suddenly want to not be an indigenous Pakistani, but they want to become overseas Pakistanis, right? And in the process of being overseas Pakistanis, they want to be like, hum Pakistan ko na ek nostalgic tarike se yaad karte hain. And again, this comedian that I recently saw, he's written an entire song about this on one of his stand-up comedies that he was doing, where he said कि, you know, मुझे पाकिस्तान से बहुत प्यार है और लेकिन मैं बहुत शौक से overseas Pakistani बनना चाहता हूँ. And I think I felt that was like the most relatable thing, especially to address the kind of students, or not just students, even like I would say a lot of the younger generation who's my age, कि जी हम हैं पाकिस्तान, हमें इस मुल्क से प्यार बहुत ज़्यादा है, लेकिन हम जितनी जल्दी भागना चाहें यहाँ से भागना चाहते हैं.
तो जी, गांधी जी एंड मंटो, आपने इन दोनों पे काम किया in terms of their voice for resistance. इन दोनों की voice of resistance में फ़र्क क्या था?
So I think Gandhi is known to be a pacifist, right? When he writes Satyagraha is about non-violence, right? And I think he is like someone who is presenting a version, a very sterilized, a very sanitized version of how he thinks resistance can happen through non-violence. And I think what Manto in contrast does, so he's written Satyagraha, which is non-violence, and then Gandhi's also written Home Rule. He's written Hind Swaraj, which is Home Rule, जिसके अंदर वो बात भी ये करते हैं कि हम किसी न किसी तरीके से अंग्रेज़ों से कैसे आज़ादी ले सकते हैं. एंड उसके अंदर भी उनका स्टांस इज़ मोस्टली a critique of the colonizer or a critique of Western modernity, but through very much the lens of non-violence is a stance to take, right? And I think what Manto is doing is his form of resistance is through writing, and writing about, I'm not writing in a manner that I'm not going to sugarcoat the reality of what happened. I'm going to present it as it is. And I know that eventually this is going to become, again, to quote the same phrase, it's going to become a genie that is eventually going to erupt from the bottle, right? But the other thing is, I think Manto is very aware about the fact that what Gandhi is proposing, specifically as a means to attain home rule, can be, I mean, is a very, very idealistic situation, right? We are in हम एक ऐसे खित्ते में हैं जहाँ आपकी बहुत ज़्यादा किस्म के differences हैं, whether that's on religious grounds, whether that's on social grounds, whether that's on class grounds. And this is a very, very easy picture that you're presenting. It's a very palatable picture that you seem to present. I know there are severe, or there are more like really, really strenuous forms of non-violence that Gandhi suggests, which is something that he took up in his own life, which is like, you know, I'm going to starve myself, I'm going to go on bhukh hartal, I think it's called, right? But I think that Manto problematizes that and says we need to negotiate this kind of, or I'm going to show to you how problematic it is by simply articulating what happened during the time that led up to partition, and even perhaps the time that happened post it. कि इतना simple नहीं है. It is not that simple to articulate or exhibit resistance through a completely non-violent model.
Of course,
right?
Manto
And I
के
think
अफसानों में resistance and violence
absolutely
is
बहुत ज़्यादा है, and I think that's one of the glaring realities of what happened in the years leading up to partition that he showcases, because again that's a narrative that you will only get in numerical numbers, that X people died, or X people were treated in XYZ manner. The graphicness of it is not one that is put in the state narrative or put in the reality of history, or put in history chapters or archives of history. And Manto does that for us. In fact, if I were to quote one particular short story of his, that particular short story of his is set at, he writes it during a time where Gandhi is also really at the center of a lot of the political and a lot of the debate that's going on in the subcontinent. और उस अफसाने का नाम है 1919 की एक बात. अब 1919 अगर आपको याद हो, is a really, really important year in subcontinental history because it's the year of the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. और Jallianwala Bagh massacre के वक्त अगर आपको याद होगा, वो एक ऐसा वक्त था where Gandhi was arrested, and he was his two of his most important followers, Dr. Satya Pal and Dr. Kichlu, were not allowed in the Indian territory. और उस short story के अंदर Manto also writes कि उन दोनों का पंजाब के अंदर एंट्री उनकी बैंड थी. So in the absence of Gandhi's vision, in the absence of Gandhi's mantra or his followers' mantra of being like, completely be non-violent, look at what ensues, which is the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So I think that Manto recognizes that while non-violence, and Gandhi, when he's writing about non-violence, he doesn't present this as an option that's just suddenly come up in his mind. There are instances of American and European episodes of non-violence or events of non-violence which he has taken inspiration from, and which he even quotes, which are there in his mindset, or there at the back of his mind when he's proposing this particular philosophy. But I think that Manto was able to witness all of this from a very, very close lens. So he was 7 years old when the Jallianwala Bagh massacre happens. And I think one of his first short stories is a recounting. It's one of his first short stories called Tamasha, is written from the perspective of a child who's witnessing the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So हम ये कह सकते हैं कि मंटो साहब ने बहुत ज़्यादा गौर से और बहुत closely उस सारे social political milieu को देखा है, उसको witness किया है, right? And there is a power that we were talking about trauma earlier. There is a certain power that witnessing something has, and so I think that for him, he's not as idealistic as Gandhi. He's very, very aware that this proposition of a very non-violent form of resistance is not what I'm seeing. He's not coming about it through a very theoretical lens. He's presenting it by, this is what I have seen, this is what I have witnessed since being a 7-year-old when I witnessed the Jallianwala Bagh massacre transpire in front of me, to all the points and all the events that led up to 47 and eventually post 47 where he's moved to Pakistan.
मंटो साहब अगर आज जिंदा होते तो I'm sure पहले की तरह सच लिख रहे होते. क्या आज भी उनका सच लिखना कोई खतरनाक होता?
I mean, we are living in a time period where people who are saying their truth are currently behind bars, and who are saying any version of truth. There are some who are not behind bars, but there are certain people who are behind bars. Manto had been on trial as well. मैं पहले इस वक्त चुगताई का जिक्र किया था, उनके बिल्कुल साथ Manto was on trial as well, again for 3 short stories in fact. And I feel like the kind of milieu that we exist in right now, the kind of censorship that exists right now, he may have had to go through a similar thing. जिस तरह मैं पहले बात करी थी about students at LUMS कि अगर वो कोई चीज़ लिखें और वो मेरी क्लासरूम तक रहे, महदूद रहे, तो मुझे कोई मसला नहीं होगा, आप जो मर्ज़ी लिखें. लेकिन अगर मैं कहूँ कि ये किसी पैनल डिस्कशन पे जाए और उसके ऊपर पूरी लम्स की आवाम और सारे के सारे हम मेरे डिपार्टमेंट के अलावा लोग आके उसको बैठें, उसको विटनेस करें, it might not get the green signal from the department.
Right.
In a similar capacity, I feel like what Manto wrote, now it's, all we, respect him and relish him and celebrate him. But अगर वो आज की दुनिया में जो हो रहा है उसके बारे में लिखें, it would get censored, he would get backlash, he would receive a backlash. It would only be possible in small, chambers.
ऐसा फैज साहब ने कहा था अभी वही ज़माना है, संग खुश्त मुक़य्यद है और सग आज़ाद.
और इसलिए मैं कह रही हूँ क्योंकि ये हमने होते देखा है. If we think about contemporary writing, in fact, just 2 weekends ago, I happened to watch Anwar Maqsood's play House Arrest. Ab House Arrest was supposed to be showcased in Islamabad many weeks earlier, but it was immediately put on pause. Right, because they said whoever the authorities were who saw it were like, no, I'm sorry, you cannot show it for XYZ reason. And I don't know what that version of the play was, because I watched the version of the play जिसको काफ़ी सेंसर वगैरह करके उसके बाद ऑडियंसेस के सामने लाया गया था, और उसके अंदर भी बहुत से ऐसे तशबीहात थी जो आपको पता चल रहा था ये नहीं, ये तशबीहात इन चीज़ों के लिए हैं, ये चीज़ें और these symbols or these words or this kind of suggestive language is for X, Y or Z person or X, Y or Z institution, right? I think that Manto may have had to do something very similar if his writing were there today.
Let me ask you a simpler question. अगर गांधी जी और मंटो साहब दोनों आज जिंदा होते और ट्विटर पे बैठे होते, पहले कौन बैन होता?
No, I would say Manto, because Gandhi is just proposing the fact that let's be, I think
Om Shanti
Manto.
Om.
Om Shanti Om. I mean, there's a lot of, he's also it is problematic in terms of what his stance on celibacy was, and how he looked at women, how he treated women, or what his dynamic with women was. But I would say perhaps not like, cancelled. I would say the word is cancelled. I think maybe Manto would have been cancelled.
Let me just give you my opinion on Gandhi ji. He was a proponent of non-violence.
Yeah.
Gandhi ji is celebrated globally. Manto sahab ne फांसी का इल्ज़ाम लिया. मंटो साहब ने ज़माने भर की थुक लानत भी ली. दोनों ने सिर्फ माशरे की नाइंसाफ़ी दिखाई. गांधी जी ने कहा जी कॉलोनियलिज्म गलत है, और मंटो साहब ने कहा जो हम अपने लोगों के साथ करते हैं वो गलत है. एक को अवार्ड मिले, एक को रिजेक्ट कर दिया गया. क्यों?
So I think that Gandhi is operating on a very different level and a very different scale. So he is saying, I'm opposing the entire empire, which is, something that had been happening across the globe in multiple colonies of Britain. You see it. It's like there's this almost like this, not a rat race, but like this domino effect that is going on. Multiple places that had been colonized by the UK or other colonies are wanting liberation. So I think he falls in that cadre or in that kind of context of people, right? And that's why he perhaps gets the award. मंटो के केस के अंदर अगर आप देखें तो वो मोस्टली मुआशरे को एक्सपोज कर रहे हैं, and he's not I would say he's not a revolutionary without a cause, but his cause is more the fact that I'm going to unveil the truth. I'm going to expose the truth. So I think there's a difference in agenda. Gandhi's is at a slighter grander scale, whereas Manto's is not. But also आप ये याद रखें कि मंटो साहब जो हैं जब वो लिख रहे थे, उनका lot of his work is written pre-partition, and then a lot of it is written post-partition. So it's almost like Manto Sahab himself का एक बंटवारा हो गया है. Who takes claim over him? Who takes ownership of him? That is he? Are we going to consider him an Indian writer? Are we going to consider him a Pakistani writer? And Pakistani, if we see that maybe Pakistan should have been rewarded him, he remained a very, very contentious figure in Pakistan. Not just in the years right after partition, but even later. मुझे याद है that when I was in school. आप जो बात कर रहे थे कि लोग छुप छुप के मंटो की किताबें पढ़ते थे, दिस इज़ अर्ली 2000s where Manto was part of the Urdu syllabus of students who were a few years senior to me, so 2-3 years senior to me. पाकिस्तानी कहानियाँ आया करती थी, उसके अंदर उर्दू का सिलेबस में मंटो साहब को पढ़ाया जाता था. And then by the time it was our turn to sit for the exams, they said, you're not going to read Pakistani kahaniyan because it has contentious work. So we were given, very, like I say, very sanitized, sterilized version of partition. Yeah, hui, बहुत दुख हुआ, but that's about it. उसी किस्म के अदब में. तो आप सोचें कि एक बंदा जो even till the late 2000s एक slightly contentious figure रहे, उसको हम किस तरह समझ सकते हैं कि उसको ये मुल्क या ये रियासत को किसी न किसी इनाम से या किसी न किसी अवार्ड से नवाजेगी.
Thank you so much. You've been very kind. Really enjoyable time.